of our core values of professionalism, integrity, and excellence. The next slide contains other executive and legislative issuances, and they form part of the mandate of Marina, such as the following. So we have Executive Order 546 of 1979 attaching Marina to the Ministry of then Transportation and Communication for policy and program coordination. Executive Order number 1011 transferred the quasi-judicial functions of the former Board of Transportation to the Marina. Executive Order number 125 and 125A in 1987 vested upon the Marina the functions of vessel registration, vessel safety regulation, issuance of the Seafarer Identification and Record Book, commonly known as the Seaman's Book. Republic Act 9295 of 2004, or the Domestic Shipping Development Act, provides a modernization of domestic shipping and shipbuilding sectors, as well as the regulation of the Philippine domestic shipping industry. And lastly, we have Republic Act 10635 of 2014, which established Marina as the single maritime authority to give full and complete effect to the provisions of the 1978 International Convention, STCW Convention, as amended. And there is another executive order providing the institutional arrangement between and among the agencies implementing the convention and its code. A relatively small organization, the Marina has been able to accomplish significant feats in 2023, and some selected milestones include the following. The Philippine election in the Council of the International Maritime Organization for another 2-year term commencing 2024 and ending in December 2025. As one of the 40 member states of the IMO Council, the Philippines participates in the formulation of global maritime policies and ensures the protection of the country's maritime interests. The Philippines has also secured a favorable decision of the European Commission to continue recognizing the STCW certificates being issued to our Filipino seafarers on board European flagships, saving the employment of more than 50,000 merchant marine officers. The Philippines has also completed the independent evaluation by the IMO, which results will determine whether or not the Philippines will remain in the IMO whitelist or countries that have been found to have given full and complete effect to the provisions of the STCW Convention as amended. With this, we are happy to announce that based on the information received, the Philippines will be in the IMO whitelist, and this will be confirmed during the Maritime Safety Committee meeting in sometime in May of this year. As part of our international commitment, the Philippines likewise completed its audit under the IMO member state audit scheme. And the panel of maritime experts came to the Philippines to evaluate our compliance to the IMO instruments, which we are a state party. And we have, of course, completed the updating of the Maritime Industry Development Plan of 2028, and this will be discussed broadly later. In taking advantage of the benefits of technology and our continued effort to promote ease of doing business, the country, especially for our seafarers, we have enhanced the features of the Marina Integrated Seafarers Management Online System, widely known as the MISMO. So seafarers do not need to come and queue in any of our offices, and they can apply within the comforts of their locations. Our automation and digitalization efforts will witness a breakthrough this year after completing our groundworks for the nationwide deployment of the Marina blockchain-enabled certification system. In support of our strategic shifts to put in the center of our stakeholders in our work, we have achieved a 100% resolution rate of complaints that were lodged in the Presidential Action Center. The Marina has developed its policy manual and procedures through the grant from the Development Academy of the Philippines for the agency's certification under ISO 9001:2015. By this year, we target to have all our services in the central office and our regional office in Batangas to be ISO certified before end of the year. Moving on, the slide shows also our infrastructure development. First is the completion of our Marina Regional Office building in Region 8, and we have ongoing construction of the Marina Regional 10 office building and groundbreaking of the Marina Regional 11 office building here in Davao. On the slides are some notable efforts that we have pursued in the area of promoting safety of navigation and the protection of the marine environment. We had concluded our 2023 Maritime Safety Summit. We have this concentrated campaign on the enhancement of ROPAX fleet safety level. We have launched our video on marine plastic litter, and we also conducted a regional conference on greenhouse gas emissions, its challenges and opportunities in the Asia and Pacific region. To manage the expectation given our limitations in terms of manpower and funds, I have outlined 10 priority areas under my leadership for calendar 2024. 1, digitalization of all marina processes, certification of the quality management system, enhancement of maritime safety, addressing the causes of maritime accidents, sustained compliance with STCW Convention and Code, strong collaboration and partnership with PCG and other government partners, engagement with the industry stakeholders, effective implementation of the MIDP 2028, strengthening of the organizational structure and institutional capacity, assessment of the effectiveness of existing policies, and probably repeal those found obsolete. And of course, we have started preparing for the Philippine compliance to the revised IMO GHG strategy. At this point, may I invite your attention to the screen for a short video on MIDP.
In 1974, a great visionary leader, former President Ferdinand Marcos Sr., has envisioned to develop the Philippine maritime industry as a vital component of national economic and development. With its creation, pursuant to Presidential Decree No. 474, the Maritime Industry Authority was mandated to craft and implement a 10-year Maritime Industry Development Plan. The MIDP envisions a strong and reliable Philippine merchant fleet that addresses the sea transport requirements of the archipelago in support of the National Development Agenda. The MIDP also aims to ensure access of passengers and shippers to safe, secure, economical, environment-friendly, and sustainable sea transport. This is consistent with the principle of leaving no one behind, the very core of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and the Philippines' ambition of isang matatag, maginhawa at panatag na buhay para sa lahat in the Philippine Development Plan 2023 to 2028. The MIDP targets to develop and expand the Philippine merchant fleet, as well as a future-ready maritime human capital. With 3 core outcomes, the MIDP aspires to increase access to a reliable, efficient, and integrated sea transport system for passengers and shippers, the increased capacity and production in shipbuilding and ship repair industry, and the increased employability, upskilled, reskilled, maritime workforce and new jobs created. To realize this, 10 MIDP programs were initially identified. These MIDP programs were realigned, restructured, and categorized into 4 core programs. overriding programs. And one enabling program. Core programs are the focus sectors of the Philippine merchant fleet development and expansion. The overriding programs are vital instruments that cut across and are critical to achieving the desired outcomes of the core programs. Enabling program focuses on the whole-of-nation approach by empowering relevant government agencies and maritime industry stakeholders the impetus to push forward the core and overriding programs in order to achieve the overall targets of the MIDP 2028. By the full implementation of the MIDP in 2028, the Philippines shall have achieved link more islands of the archipelago, expanded Philippine merchant fleet, increased employment opportunities, improved and seamless transport of cargo and agricultural products. Now is the time for the government and the industry to work together to realize the vision of transforming the Philippines into a strong maritime nation.
I also urge all concerned agencies to pursue a whole-of-government approach to effectively implement the MIDP 2028. As a leader, I assure you that this administration will give its unqualified support in your aspirations of building a Philippine maritime industry that will be looked upon with admiration by the region and the rest of the world. Given that the Philippines is a maritime nation, I believe that it is time for us to make the maritime industry once again a top priority.
The succeeding slides contain key deliverables for the 8 priority programs of the updated MIDP. And they will contain high-impact projects as well as legislative agenda. Under the MIDP, there are 120 projects and activities that were enrolled, but we have just choose the projects and programs that will really provide an impetus for the development of the maritime industry, as well as the enabling legislation that will help us achieve the objectives set forth in our MIDP 2028. So for the domestic shipping, we will endeavor to provide incentives through the revision or amendment of RA 9295 and the train law. There are also projects like the route rationalization and the alternate voyage routing software for local navigation, as well as the promotion of cruise tourism, starting from the profiling of our tourist destination areas and infrastructure projects like the expansion of the Roro ports. For our overseas shipping program, the MIDP will focus on our legislation for the Philippine Ship Registry System. And when we presented this to the President, he was like surprised to know that we don't have yet this enabling legislation for our overseas, Philippine registered overseas ships. And together with the legislation, we have to come up with our national guidance document for the effective implementation, compliance, monitoring, enforcement of laws, rules, and regulations related to our Philippine registered overseas ships. To the core program on shipbuilding and ship repair, it is important as well that we have the enabling legislation that would develop the shipbuilding and ship repair industry. And we found a potential for ship breaking and ship recycling sub-industry in our country. That's why we are moving as well on the ratification of the Hong Kong International Convention for the safe and environmentally sound ship recycling. And together with this, we will be conducting feasibility studies because most of the materials needed for shipbuilding are imported. Therefore, we wish to have a study on how we can localize all these materials. We have to establish a maritime industry, eco-industrial park that would put together services, providers that are related to shipbuilding and ship repair to provide timely delivery of all the needed spare parts, machinery, and materials for our shipbuilding, thus targeting to reduce the shipbuilding or local construction time for our ships and boats for domestic consumption. And still, we have to do a skills mapping of our SBSR workers. So we're not only focusing on our seafarers, but as well as other skilled workers. And we will, under the next core program on maritime workforce, with RA 1065 and existing laws, we are developing together with CHED, the ladderized maritime education and training, and bridging and reintegration programs, development of education and training programs for electrotechnology. This is very in demand in the global market. So we really need to develop and focus on these particular skills because otherwise this will be like a lost market. So we have to get that market, develop it, and even expand it. So, and all other ship workers, ship management, ship handling, logistics and port management, pilotage, and other related programs. So this core program 4 will focus on all maritime related profession, services, and the like. So we will have also the standardized training for welders, fitters, machinists, and mold lofters, all of which are needed either in the shipyards or even on board ships. There is indeed a demand for, we were informed, for fitters. No, this, and we can have the collaboration with TESDA for the development of these particular skills. And to support our future-ready maritime workforce, as we all know, autonomous surface ships and decarbonization are just around the corner. So we have to be ready, prepared, and be relevant when this becomes globally commercialized. So with the COVID-19 pandemic, we also recognize the need to also address mental health and well-being of our seafarers on board. And women in maritime is always part of our plans and programs. And although these studies on maritime security challenges, our participation here is more on ensuring that businesses will continue despite current conflicts or future conflicts, whether man-made or acts of God. So there should be a requirement for our businesses to be to have a continuity plan, business continuity plan. We have the overriding program, 1 on safety and security. So it is important, resulting from our IMSA's audit, that we have the legislation for the domestication of the IMO instruments. And we also support an independent body who will conduct investigation of marine casualty incidents or accidents in the country. And we are now implementing our concentrated safety campaign. Phase 1 would be covering ROPAX, followed by cargoes and other types of ships. And there is also a need to really modernize communication system and aids to navigation and updating of our hydrographic services in navigational sea lanes. On our overriding program on environment, to have environmentally sustainable maritime transport, we aim to develop and implement a national strategic action plan on reduction of GHG, marine plastic litter, underwater noise, and even ballast water and biofouling. And we will also endeavor to ratify and implement the International Convention on the Liability and Compensation for Damage in connection with the carriage of hazardous and noxious substances by sea of 2010, or in short, HNS Convention. As our enabling program will focus on the full digitalization, as mentioned earlier, standardization and digitalization of audit, survey, inspection, checklists, and reports, system interface with local sources and users of marina data, integration of all other application systems being developed under the STMTA, or the Science and Technology for Maritime Transport application, with the Department of Science and Technology. And we will be, of course, after all of this, maintain a seafarers and shipping portals. For our moving forward, we'll have our, next please, close coordination as a pending task with the Office of the President. In fact, we presented this MIDP to the President last January 17. So we requested for an issuance of an executive order to implement the MIDP, and of course, the approval of the MIDP itself. And next would be our partnership with relevant government agencies for the development of project proposals under the Tier 2 of our budget process for the DBM and in our Congress and Senate. And we will also forge a relevant memorandum of agreement or understanding for the implementation of MIDP 2028 projects. And strategic communication for stronger narratives on the importance of the maritime industry in the development of our national development agenda of the country. So with this, Marina's campaign, Charting a Clean Course, Safely Sailing Together, will continue to be the transformative journey that we are aiming for the maritime industry. Charting a Clean Course signifies Marina's commitment to responsible leadership and sustainable development, while Safely Sailing Together introduces a narrative of inclusivity and equity, including positive change towards becoming Bagong Pilipinas, and ushering Filipinos towards a comfortable, accessible, safe, sustainable, and affordable transportation. With this, thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Admin Sonia, for an in-depth discussion of the updated MIDP. Now, to apprise us of the accomplishments and matters to look forward to for the country's pioneer institution in maritime education, may I call on PMMA Superintendent Commodore Joel Abotal.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Secretary Jaime Bautista, sir. Our esteemed Secretary of Transport. Also, Assistant Secretary Elmer Sarmiento, sir. And Assistant Secretary Julius Llano, sir. To my fellow presenters, attached agencies of DOTr, the maritime sector, as well as the fellow workers in the government, friends in the private sectors, as welcome here this morning, and to the cadets of maritime schools in Mindanao. We welcome you to the 125th anniversary of the Department of Transportation. I'm glad to be part of this presentation. And before I start my updates about PMMA, allow me to please show our short video presentation about the oldest maritime institution of the country. Please.
The Philippine Merchant Marine Academy is the country's first government-funded maritime learning institution located at the municipality of San Narciso in the province of Zambales. The academy was formerly named Escuela Nautica de Manila through a Spanish royal decree issued on January 1st, 1820, and consequently named Philippine Nautical School during the American occupation. Under Republic Act 3680, it was officially named the Philippine Merchant Marine Academy. It began offering maritime programs leading toward Bachelor of Science degrees in marine transportation and marine engineering. Since 1993, the Academy has been offering master's degrees program in shipping management and maritime education and training. The Republic Act 11782. This will provide a new campus that extends the Philippine Merchant Marine Academy in Cagayan de Oro City. The PMMA is under the supervision of the Commission on Higher Education as a marine and quasi-military academy. The academy closely collaborates with the Department of Transportation and the Department of National Defense. This is because the PMMA is a maritime learning institution that not only offers baccalaureate degrees for international commercial trade, but also for the Naval, Coast Guard, and Marine administrations. The PMMA prepared its Land Use Development and Infrastructure Plan consistent with the Republic Act 11396 or the State Universities and College Land Use Development and Infrastructure Plan Act. As a beacon of global excellence in the maritime industry, higher education institution, PMMA shall become the catalyst of resilient socio-economic transformation, pursuing innovative infrastructure in a safe and sustainable environment, contributing to national security by 2033. The LUDEP is also incorporates PMMA's SMART framework that is composed of the following elements: Data Center, Smart Classrooms, Adaptive Learning, Energy Management, Smart Facilities, Smart Buildings, Transportation, Security and Safety. The LUDEP is composed of the Campus Land Use Plan, Campus Master Development Plan, and Site Development Plan. The LUDEP divides the PMMA's planning area into 9 districts, each having a specific functional land use and set of proposed development. The largest district is the Academy, which shall have the following administration building expansion: Registrar, Records, and new academic buildings, Research and Graduate Studies, Training and Business Center, Data and Energy Center, Maritime Archives and Museum, Sick Bay Infirmary and Expansion, PMMA Technological Hub, Gender and Development Multipurpose Hall, Research Simulator Building, and the Engine Room Laboratory. The expansion of the academic facilities, PMMA's target of increasing its student population by 2033. The other district in the academy are the Cadet School and Coats, which shall be comprised of the following: accommodation for training center and graduate students, Department of Shipboard Training, new dormitory for students, Cadet Barracks, Vessel Expansion, Department of Midshipman Affairs, the Department of Midshipman Affairs Fence, Unity Gardens, the Presidio Park, which shall have the obstacle course and exercise spots, the Oval and Training Ground, that shall contain ship training facility, and the Advanced Sports Complex with swimming pool. The Embarcadero, which shall include the following lighthouse and steel bridge, food and beverage retail outlets at the waterfront and pier, retail plazas, beach clubhouse, activity center, amphitheaters, and flood control structure, the Golf and Leisure, which shall feature the new PMMA Boutique Hotel, the residential villages, which shall house the following: Townhomes A, Townhomes B, Faculty and Tactical Officers Quarters, single detached housing units, the back of campus that shall contain the General Services Building and the Warehouse and Carpentry Building, retail plazas and commercial spaces. The PMMA MRTV project aims to deliver an 84-meter aluminum hull diesel electric hybrid multi-role training vessel, which will include a 5-year integrated logistics support. For the maintenance will be used by the PMMA for shipboard training, not only for the PMMA cadets, but also cadets from other maritime higher education institutions.
The PMMA is well prepared for the changes and opportunities that lie ahead. With the support of the government, private sector, and other stakeholders, the Academy will undoubtedly realize its vision and significantly contribute to the national development and global maritime advancement.
As your partner in improving the skills and capabilities of our people in the maritime industry, I call on all the concerned agencies to coordinate closely with the PMMA, facilitate what will make our maritime education even more responsive to the needs of the nation, while ensuring that whatever steps that we take will be in compliance with laws and regulations.
Thank you. Yeah. Now for the continuation of the updates of how we train the maritime leaders of the land. Okay. Okay. So, again, I continue with how we work in PMMA by providing you the status and updates for the fiscal year 2023. Under our reckoning, we see that the PMMA is able to provide for the contribution to the following socio-economic agenda of the country. First is the reduction of the vulnerabilities. Second, ensure sound macroeconomic fundamentals, create more jobs, create quality jobs, uphold public order, peace and security, and ensure a level of playing field. My presentation will tackle 5 parts: Academy highlights, Academy operations, financial sustainability, but I will skip that financial sustainability, developments and initiatives, and the current pipeline projects that we are undertaking. For the Academy highlights, through our unwavering commitment, we are continuously working on improving our academic quality, innovation, and holistic development. Our midshipmen are geared towards becoming leaders of the maritime industry, not only locally, but as well as global maritime leaders, by positioning PMMA as a beacon of excellence in maritime education and training in the Philippines and in beyond. In order to do this, we are continuously strengthening our linkages and partnerships. Our partnerships not only with the shipping companies, which we have now about 49 shipping company partners taking our cadets from their third year and third year year. Also, we have engaged with national, international institutions and agencies such as the Singapore Maritime Academy, the MOCPO, National Maritime University of Korea, Central Police University of Taiwan, as well as our local schools by hand-holding with them. Together with the Central Michigan University for our cybersecurity training. And lately, we are continuously working with the Republic of France for other maritime seminars as well as projects, and so on. PMMA is continuously working on the participation in the national activities such as the Araw ng Kalayaan, the AFP Day Parade as core participants to the parading elements. Also, we are participating in the National Peace Convention. And with this, we are able to get many awards by continuously excelling in some parts of our programs. At the same time, our student involvement in the following activities continuously honed their holistic growth, such as their involvement in SQUA in Region 3, ROTC Games, both regional and national leagues, officer candidate and academy cadet meets, and so on, where our cadets, PMMA cadets, were recognized. And most of them have garnered podium placers. On the academy operation, there are only 3 major operations that we do, aside from being a quasi-military institution. On the higher education is the conferment of the Bachelor of Science in Marine Transportation and Bachelor of Science in Marine Engineering. These are the only programs that the PMMA Charter allows us to offer. And in 1993, PMMA was able to open our advanced education, the Masters in Ship Management and Master in Maritime Education and Training, which continuously is providing advanced career opportunities and education for our professionals. To date, we have around 220 students of the graduate school, including Coast Guard, Marina, and other government institutions, as well as private companies. Our training service includes the short maritime training programs of the IMO, but we also cater to the specific company requirements of the partner companies. Being a unique maritime institution of the country, we continuously try to uphold our being a premier institution, being the first maritime institution of the land, by continuously producing graduates which are highly skilled and high caliber to become maritime professionals. And the curriculum of the academy remains in the 2-1-1 system, which we still believe that this is the best curriculum that the maritime curriculum can offer, because on the 3rd year they are able to, at least our cadets are able to join international ships, and they're able to come back on the 4th year where they continue their leadership and academic curriculum. And these are the samples of the pictures of our class 2014 female master mariner and chief engineer, proving that we are also producing female professionals now, which we started in producing in 1997. On the admission of the academy, if you look at the graph, the academy continues to widen its horizon by trying to provide getting more applicants from different parts of the country. From 2015 to 2023, you will see the graph going up, and the applicants continuously is increasing, and this shows that we are able to go to the different provinces of the country and allowing more opportunities for our senior high school to take maritime employment, at least pursue maritime career through PMMA program. The intention of the PMMA is to increase the beneficiaries of PMMA program. Example, the PMMA program remains a classic example of education to employment because the cadets are still, the companies, I mean, are still confident in getting PMMA cadets while they are still in first year and second year, such that on third year, they are all employed by the foreign companies. Unfortunately, while we have many applicants and takers, the green line shows that the passers are still almost the same, a little bit increased, just because the budget is still the same and the capability or the capacity of the academy is still on the same capabilities. And this is what we are addressing. With the opening of the PMMA, Cagayan de Oro campus, we are able to open the opportunity to our students in Mindanao. Because when PMMA was transferred from Port Bonifacio to Zambales, the takers from Mindanao were not pushing through going to Zambales because the main reason is the financial capability of these students are they're not able to sustain it. And now with the opening of the PMMA Cagayan de Oro, which we have started last year of August, we have now an initial of 43 grade 11 students, and hopefully we can increase it with the continuous advertisement that we are doing in Mindanao. And our initial target is to have 100 students for 11 and 12. And these students hopefully will have more chances of joining the maritime, the PMMA in Zambales, and as well as able to join ship if they don't want to continue, they're not able to pass the PMMA program there. In our history, for school academic year 2023 to 2024, there increased a number of cadets dramatically because of the program implementation that we have initiated. Our first class cadets there, which normally, if you look at the number of graduates on baccalaureate program in school year 2020 to 2023, the number of graduates of BSMT was only 97, and the BSMARE was only 127, or a total of 224 graduates last year. But if you look at the data in first class in 2023-2024, we have now an increased number of cadets per class. The BSMT now numbers to 165, and the BSMARE is 157. That is practically almost 100 cadets per class. And at the same time, second class are also, actually all classes of PMMA now have around 100 cadets more. What does this mean? It means that there are 100 more cadets which will be transformed their lives with the PMMA program, which their families will get the benefit once they graduate. And this one is part of the continuing effort of the government to increase job opportunities by making sustainable and education and training for that. And PMMA is calling that as part of our support to the government. And as of now, the total number of cadets in PMMA is around 1,400 from the usual 1,800 cadets. That is around 600 more than the number of cadets that we used to have. It's because the number of partner companies of the academy has dramatically increased, including their intake of cadets has also increased. Considering the passing of pandemic, which PMMA during that time continued the operation, there were more cadets taken by partner companies than before. And so, in order to support the requirements and with the implementation of various programs to ensure that the cadets will stay in the academy, we are able to maintain or increase the number of cadets as of this year. And at the same time, we have our graduate studies have continuously increased the number of graduates year on year on. On the research and extension, there are 5 research projects which we have completed and presented. Yeah. On the professional development, the various agencies as well as with various countries, we are able to join seminars here and abroad. For example, the one that's provided by the French Embassy, where we joined the regional workshop on management of risk and incident response for port and maritime disaster in Singapore, as well as the Maritime Security High-Level Conference and tabletop exercise in Indonesia, which we attended both. And our continuous education and training for our faculty are being sustained, such as when 2 faculties were sent to Japan for training with our Maritime Training Institute counterpart there. Our student development are also provided with various training in order to make them aware of, aside from the curriculum given, we institute several student awareness on data privacy, cybersecurity, leadership, and etc. These are on top of the curriculum that is being provided to them. And part of our continuous development program is the Smart Campus Establishment, where the digitalization is continuously addressed, such as the AR/VR and the various innovations that we have instituted there. Also, with the Futures Thinking Foresight, where we are able to get support from Senator Pia Cayetano. And these are the completed projects that we have, and continuing ongoing projects about the road construction, access road, and the current pipeline projects in the academy, our land use development plan, the now in the Congress, the 4 bills that are now filed in Congress, which we hope PMMA will be strengthened more when the passage of this, after the consolidation of these House bills. Part of the construction of additional academic building, which is to be done this year, additional dormitory for the increased number of cadets, and the acquisition of the full mission bridge simulator. And of course, hopefully, we can acquire the training vessel soon. This is not only for PMA, but also for the other maritime schools in the country. So thank you so much, and by God's will and grace, we hope to accomplish all of this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commodore Abotal. Indeed, there is so much to look forward to for the PMMA. As we proceed with the presentations, may I request everyone to turn your attention to the screen in front, as it is PPA's turn to present their accomplishments through an audio-visual presentation.
The Philippine Ports Authority, or PPA, is the nation's premier maritime agency, steering the course of progress through the archipelago's vital ports and harbors. The Philippine Ports is one of the strongest economic performers in Southeast Asia, according to Drury Maritime Research. This translates into bigger figures for the economy, creating a ripple effect in all sectors. PPA's mission is to provide modern, sustainable, and resilient port infrastructure and facilities, to provide responsive, reliable, and efficient port services, and to promote a regulatory framework that is transparent, fair, and relevant to the needs of all stakeholders. Over the years, the PPA has been involved in various expansion and modernization projects aimed at improving the efficiency and capacity of the Philippine ports. These initiatives are significant for supporting the growing trade and economic activities in the Philippines. to keep pace with global trends and improve operational efficiency. The PPA has implemented various technological upgrades.
Given that the Philippines is a maritime nation, I believe that it is time for us to make the maritime industry once again a top priority.
PPA is continuously improving its ports facilities, including the construction of dedicated ports for cruise tourism. Currently, among the ports under PPA which cater to cruise vessels include the ports of Curimao in Ilocos Norte, Salumague in Ilocos Sur, Manila, Bohol, and El Nido, Palawan, while developing more cruise terminals in the areas of Coron in Palawan, Siargao, Camiguin, and Puerto Galera. More international cruise ships are now back in the shores of the Philippine Islands after being hailed as the best cruise destination in Asia, with more than 80,000 cruise ship passengers visiting the Philippines last year.
Mas maganda lang pong bumiyahe ngayon sa ating mga pantalan dahil nakita naman po natin mas madali na, mas convenient para sa lahat. Lahat po ito ay bahagi ng ating pagsasaayos ng ating mga pantalan para na rin po sa matagal ng hinahangad o nire-request ng mga pasahero natin na gawing mas maganda at mas kaaya-aya po yung mga pantalan natin, lalong-lalo na po yung mga terminal para po sa lahat. Legasiya po nating lahat ito na tayo ay makakaalala so many years from now na tayo po ay naging bahagi ng pagpapaunlad po dito sa pantalan.
The Philippine Ports Authority also recently launched its Papasyal Tayo campaign to further advocate traveling via improved and new seaports. In 2022, during the per months, PPA recorded a total number of more than 19 million passengers in its 25 port management offices. The highest number of passengers recorded mostly in ports of Iloilo, Batangas, Hordan, Babac, and Calapan. With port passenger statistics returning to the pre-pandemic level, safety and security at ports is among the top priority. The Philippine Ports Authority was recently hailed as one of the top dividend contributors among the government-owned and controlled corporations in the country, with 4.4 billion cash remittance in 2023. The increasing PPA dividend hikes can be seen as a trend since 2016. In 2022, the Philippine Ports Authority generated 20.4 billion pesos in revenue, the highest collected so far since the inception of the agency 49 years ago, that can be attributed to the authority's sound fiscal management. The revenue booked by PPA from January to October 2023 jumped by 30.2%, hitting an all-time high of 21.06 billion pesos, already breaking the previous record high of 20.53 billion pesos recorded last 2022. PPA is also making history in terms of revenue, turning out breaking records with 21.06 billion in 2023, 17.67 billion in 2021, and 20.53 billion in 2022 for 3 consecutive years. For 2024, programs and projects have been lined up. Green Ports initiatives will also be prioritized to help mitigate the effects of climate change, while maintaining sustainable and resilient port development programs. The Philippine Ports Authority stands resolute its mandate, vision, mission, and transformative projects, setting the course for a maritime future that resonates on a global scale. PPA, connecting trade and sailing towards progressive future.
We hope you were able to capture PPA's accomplishments for 2023. We are definitely looking forward to this year's accomplishments. Now, we proceed to another port authority, the Cebu Port Authority. May I call on CPA General Manager Francisco Comendador III.
Good afternoon. Before I start my presentation, please play the short video. Thank you.
A dream, a glimpse of the future, discovery, exploration, a sincere desire to make a difference. 30 years ago, this dream became a reality. Connecting lives, one culture, one race, one common goal. Creativity at its finest. Life to the fullest. At Cebu Port Authority, we are committed to becoming a world-class port that is financially sound, economically profitable, and self-sustaining. From the most remote corner to the busiest center, the Cebu Port Authority is a testament to the Cebuano spirit, celebrating relationships, showcasing ingenuity, building businesses, creating jobs, helping the local economy blossom. Guided by our core values of efficiency, customer satisfaction, quality performance, and self-sufficiency. Driven by our passion to deliver safe, efficient, and effective post services, responsible environmental stewardship, exemplary public service, and to promote regional commerce. Always ready today for the promise of tomorrow. Cebu Port Authority, moving people and businesses forward.
Thank you. Good afternoon once again. And this is a rare opportunity. I'm so happy to be part of this 125th anniversary of DOTr. Secretary Jaime Bautista, USIC Elmer Sarmiento of Maritime, ASIC Julius Llano, fellow presenters from our Marina Deputy Administrator for Operation, Madam Nanette Dinopol, Commodore Joel Y. Abutal of PMMA, Vice Admiral Rolando Poncelan Jr. of PCJ, and also my friend, Ma'am Annalie Aguila of PPA, Davao. And I'm so happy this afternoon to see my predecessor, former CPA General Manager, former Commandant of PCG, Sir Edmund Tan. Welcome to Cebu Port Authority once again. Mandate. The Cebu Port Authority was created through the enactment of RA 7621, signed into law on June 26, 1992. Its mandate is to administer all ports located in Cebu Province, thus effectively separating these ports from Philippine Ports Authority system. Vision. By 2030, to become a world-class port that is financially sound, economically profitable, and self-sustaining with a passion to deliver safe, efficient, and effective port services, responsible environmental stewardship, exemplary public service, and promote regional commerce through the port. Our mission is to build, operate, and maintain ports under its network and implement an integrated management system aligned with internationally accepted standards and practices for operations, planning, and development of ports within its territorial jurisdiction, enhancing trade and commerce. This will be the part 2. I'm showing you the map of Cebu Province. This is divided into different port management offices. The first is this is where the admin office is located. This is the Cebu City. And also in this area, the PMO1 CIP, PMO2 Fifth Street, PMO3 Pier 3, and also PMO4 Pier 1, including the Maritime area. In 2023, in this particular area, under the capital outlay project of 2023, we constructed a new daycare center and clinic. This amount to 907 million, and as of December, it is obvious that is 100% completed. This is the map of the entire Cebu Base Port. PMO1, this is the Cebu International Port. It has an annual income in 2023 of 863 million, and it generates 44% of the total income of the entire CPA. And also during last year, there was a project under capital outlay, repair of 7 sets and replacement of 3 solar-powered navigational buoys amounting to 44 million. Status as of December 2023, 85% completed. Again, this is the picture of the PMO1 Cebu International Port. Next slide is the PMO2, the Fifth Street. This is a domestic port, berths 7 to 17. It has an annual income of 195 million, and in the totality, it has contributed 10% of the total income for 2023. Next slide is the PMO3 or Pier 3, another domestic port, berths 18 to 23. Last year, it has an income of 100 million, or a total of 10% of the total income. There was also a project in that area last year, the construction of RC deck with Ro-Ro ramp amounting to 183 million. Status as of December is 30% completed. Then the next slide is PMO4, Pier 1, another domestic port. This is from berth 23 to 29. It has an annual income of 140 million, or 7% of the total income for last year. The next slide, this is the most controversial, especially for the Cebuanos, because this is the Maritima area. This area is also claimed by the city of Cebu, but as far as the Cebu port is concerned, we also invested projects in that area, especially last year. There was an ongoing construction of new RCDEC amounting to 197 million as phase 1. The status as of December is 51%. This is part of the original base port of Cebu. So again, this is the general view of the Cebu base port. Then the next slide is the PMO 5, the Mandaue. This is outside the base port. So Mandaue contributed 7% of the total income, amounting to 142 million. And there is also what we call a private ports in this area, and also a CPA-operated ports. As far as CPA-operated ports, we only get about 11%, while the 89% coming from the private ports. So there are 7 ports under CPA-operated and 33 ports as private ports in this particular PMO. The next is the Danao, PMO Danao. It also shares about 3% of the total income last year, amounting to 64 million. So there are 9 ports operated under CPA and 6 private ports in this area. The next one is the PMO 7, Santa Fe. It only contributed 2% of the entire income last year, amounting to 48 million pesos. And we also have an expansion of RCDEC, a construction of RCDEC and expansion of Roro ramp in the area. Because this particular place in Cebu, there are lots of tourists going to Bantayan Island. So parang Boracay ito na area. So the project as of December was 40% completed, amounting to 109 million pesos. The next PMO, PMO 8, Toledo. Toledo contributed about 7% of the total income, amounting to 128 million pesos. And it has also 5 ports operated by CPA and 9 ports under private and LGU ports. Then this is also the PMO Argao. PMO Argao is the second ranking PMO in terms of revenue. It has an annual income of 236 million, or 12% of the last year's revenue. It has 5 government ports or CPA-operated ports and 18 private ports in the area. Now for 2024, we allocated 550 million for the capital outlay projects. I will no longer enumerate. These are the list. And we have also proposed repair and maintenance project for calendar year 2024, amounting to 250 million. Then we also have other accomplishment. Last year, CPA received an award for being one of the top-ranking GOCC in the calendar year 2022 Corporate Governance Scorecard for GOCC. So, but aside from that, prior to that year, CPA has been a consistent awardee by the GCG. So I think that's all for my presentation. Thank you and have a nice day. And again, congratulations to all of us.
Thank you very much, GM. Now, as we near the end of our presentations, we have Philippine Coast Guard Vice Admiral Punzalan Jr., Deputy Commandant for Operations, to present PCG's accomplishments, plans, and programs.
A pleasant afternoon po sa inyong lahat. Magandang hapon po. Honorable Jaime Jimenez Bautista, our highly esteemed Secretary of the Department of Transportation, sir. Sa Undersecretary for Maritime, Elmer Francisco Sarmiento, sir. Assistant Secretary for Maritime, Attorney Julius Llano, sir. The Administrator of Marina, Ms. Sonia B. Malaluan. General Manager of Cebu Port Authority, Francisco C. Comendador III. The Superintendent of the Philippine Merchant Marine Academy, Commodore Joel Abutal, sir. Former PCG Commandant, Admiral Edmond Tan, sir. May I also be allowed to quickly recognize my colleagues from the Philippine Coast Guard, senior officers and or officials who are with me today. Coast Guard Vice Admiral Alan Victor T. De La Vega, the Deputy Commandant for Administration. The Commander of the Maritime Security Law Enforcement Command, Coast Guard Vice Admiral Robert Noble Patrimonio. The Commander of Maritime Safety Services Command, Coast Guard Vice Admiral Joseph Masillones Coime. The Commander of Marine Environmental Protection Command, Coast Guard Vice Admiral Roy Abitria Echeverria. Our Chief of Coast Guard Staff, Coast Guard Rear Admiral Hostilio Arturo E. Cornelio. The District Commander of Coast Guard District Southeastern Mindanao, Coast Guard Commodore Regard Villegas Marfe. Other colleagues from the Philippine Coast Guard, senior officers, flag officers who flew in to support this sublime activity, distinguished guests, partners from the private sector for maritime industry. Magandang hapon po muli sa inyong lahat. Good afternoon. I stand before you on behalf of our Commandant, Coast Guard, Admiral Ronnie Hill Latorilla Gavan. And may I express that the Philippine Coast Guard's unwavering dedication has been evident in the successful execution of our mandates, which encompass maritime search and rescue, law enforcement, safety, security, and marine environmental protection. May I enjoin everyone to please direct your attention to the screens in front of us as we will present an AVP of your Coast Guard's accomplishments throughout the year 2023. Thank you very much.
The remarkable 125-year anniversary of the Department of Transportation. The Philippine Coast Guard is proud to showcase its achievements in the past year, contributing to the DOTr's mission of promoting comfortable, accessible, safe, sustainable, and affordable transportation for Filipinos. The agency's mandates are multifaceted, as outlined in the Republic Act 9993, enacted in 2009. Under the PCG law, our main functions are maritime search and rescue, maritime safety, maritime security and law enforcement, and marine environmental protection. The PCG's 2023 accomplishments were made possible by the 31,105 uniformed and non-uniformed personnel who diligently worked towards fulfilling the agency's mandates. Hence, We are thrilled to showcase the PCG's achievements where every peso transforms in a high-impact brand of public service. On maritime search and rescue, the PCG conducted more than 1,500 search and rescue operations in 2023, resulting to the rescue of over 5,300 individuals. Meanwhile, there were 441 cases of reported missing persons and 482 cadavers recovered by the agency. This snapshot underscores the critical and impactful nature of the PCG's search and rescue efforts to save lives. On maritime safety, your Coast Guard through Oplan Biyaheng Ayos ensured safe sea journeys by conducting vigilant monitoring of inbound and outbound sea passengers in Philippine ports, especially during periods of heavy passenger traffic. Your PCG had rigorously conducted inspection protocols for all vessels, which all peaked during the Christmas holidays. We demonstrated unwavering dedication to maritime safety through vital operations such as port state control, vessel safety enforcement inspections, pre-departure inspections, emergency readiness evaluation, enforcement inspection apprehension, and maritime casualty investigations. The numbers presented on the screen reflect your Coast Guard's collective efforts in upholding safety standards across maritime operations. The Coast Guard's commitment to maritime security and law enforcement has been evident in 2023, with patrols covering 2.5 million square miles in 26,600 seaborne missions and 1.3 million kilometers of coast during shore patrol operations. Over 305,000 safety, security, and environmental numbering system registrations were documented, ensuring that these vessels are not used for maritime infractions. The PCG hopes to reduce the 324 apprehensions and 298 illegal activity reports through our continued diligent work and dedication. On marine environmental protection, the PCG has effectively addressed oil spill incidents, particularly the motor tanker Princess Empress incident in Mindoro last February 2023. The PCG collected approximately 178,000 kilograms of leaked oil, which could have negatively impacted the marine environment, fisherfolk livelihoods, and local economies. The PCG has been proactively strengthening its response efforts and conducting compliance inspections with approximately 10,200 vessels and 416 shore-based facility inspections which were conducted in 2023. We are fostering cooperation and collaboration with other government agencies, primarily in safety and security-related operations in line with our mandates. The PCG personnel trained in traffic management are deployed to ensure peace, order, and safety in important public transportation routes and facilities under the DOTr's Interagency Special Action and Intelligence Committee for Transportation. We have addressed 9 incidents and provided 17 road assistances. Traffic violations were also duly fined, resulting to approximately 10.2 million pesos for tops and 31.9 million pesos for impounded vehicles. The PCG, in partnership with the Bureau of Customs and Department of Agriculture, is actively working to enhance the security of the agricultural sector through the PCG Task Force Bantay ng Bumabangon ng Magsasaka. From January to December 2023, the task force confiscated agricultural products valued at approximately 2.4 billion pesos, with 224 containers of sugar being the biggest haul in 2023. Other commodities such as onions, beef, and assorted crops also recorded high confiscation rates. In November, the PCG and Metro Manila Development Authority signed a memorandum of agreement to reopen and collaborate on operating the Pasig River Ferry Service. offering a convenient, fast, and economical commuter option across Metro Manila. The PCG is also actively involved in rehabilitating the Pasig River for future generations to come. Currently, we have 4 substations in Dalpan, Hospicio de San Jose, Poreza, and Nagpayong along the Pasig River, which also acts as the Task Force Pasig River Ferry Points. As a mark of its success, more than 29,000 ferry passengers were recorded since the activation of the task force. Coast Guard personnel are crucial in natural disasters like floods, assisting in search and rescue, evacuation, and aid distribution. Just recently, in January 2024, heavy rainfall caused flooding and landslides in Davao de Oro and Davao del Norte. The PCG deployed personnel to respond to the incident and coordinated with LGUs and DRRMOs for damage assessment. On the area of border security operations, the PCG, through Task Force Aduana, continues to assist the Bureau of Customs in their operations, including consignee inspections to prevent fake importers, execute search warrants for smuggled goods, and conduct container inspections. In October 2023, the highest number was recorded, with operations resulting in confiscations valued at 3.6 billion pesos. We are also actively involved in peace and security operations with the Philippine National Police and Armed Forces through the Joint Peace and Security Coordinating Center. The intelligence operatives, together with our Coast Guard stations and substations, actively participate in joint law enforcement operations with the AFP and PNP in facilitating the surrendering of members of communist terrorist groups and local terrorist groups. Aside from its mandate to enforce regulations by all relevant maritime international conventions and laws within the maritime jurisdiction of the Philippines, the PCG has been designated as a critical member of the National Task Force on the West Philippine Sea, which was created to achieve the country's national security objectives in the area. For 2023, the PCG established 5 additional buoys inside the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone. These buoys served as markers for sovereignty, reinforcing our assertions in the West Philippine Sea. Moreover, we successfully executed the reinforcement of our presence in the West Philippine Sea through maritime patrols, maritime domain awareness flights, joint maritime patrols, and security escort missions. As a rapidly developing organization, the PCG is religiously pointing its vision towards future goals and aspirations, as well as modernization. The Coast Guard's vision for 2024 is rooted in a set of achievable plans such as the accomplishment of the 3rd phase of the PCG's Maritime Safety Improvement Project, prioritizing trafficking in person strategies, and adopting new memorandum circulars on offshore wind and insurance for the Coast Guard's major assets. Likewise, we look forward to our participation in collaborative efforts with regional and international partners like the 2024 MARPOL-X, CCAT conferences, an UNCLOS workshop on maritime security and maritime operational law. Moreover, the PCG is set to chair the 2024 ASEAN Coast Guard Forum, hosted by the Indonesian Coast Guard. The ACF Technical Expert Group will discuss the draft concept paper and DOR, preparing for the ACF Commanders Forum in June 2024. The event will take place in Yogyakarta, Indonesia. Likewise, the PCG and DOTr plan to establish and institutionalize the PCG System of Management, or the PCG SOM, in 2024 to improve resource management, support planning, resource and financial management, and decision-making responsibilities of senior leaders. We also plan to use Force-Oriented Cost Information, or FOSS, to develop, evaluate, and track multi-layer program plans. FOSS is a user-entered, unit-level force structured database that can be modified to reflect alternative planning strategies and estimate program costs. We will be modernizing our capabilities to better serve the Filipino people. As part of Phase 3 of its Maritime Safety Capability Improvement Project, the PCG plans to acquire 5 97-meter MRRVs, 2 buoy bases, and 2 new buoy tender vessels. Additionally, we are planning to acquire 40 units of 30 to 35-meter multipurpose fast response boats and 2 Austral 40-meter Guardian-class patrol boats for multi-role missions. The Philippine Coast Guard's achievement for 2023 showcases the power of teamwork, vision for innovation, and commitment to turn every peso from its allotted budget into the best public service. In 2024, your Coast Guard will build upon these accomplishments as we move forward with the Department of Transportation, embracing new organizational goals and challenges for a better future for Filipinos. We are your Philippine Coast Guard. Thank you, and congratulations for a remarkable 125 years of public service. Mabuhay ang bansang Pilipinas!
Thank you very much for your kind attention. Mabuhay ang Department of Transportation, mabuhay ang maritime sector, mabuhay po ang bagong Pilipinas. Muli, maraming salamat po. Thank you.
Thank you for your comprehensive discussion, Vice Admiral Punzalan. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our Philippine maritime sector. Our sincerest gratitude to our attached agencies for their unwavering dedication in the continuous development of the Philippines as a maritime nation. To introduce our panel, may I call on our presenters on stage and the Undersecretary for Maritime, Yusek Elmer Sarmiento, for the open forum. Again, may I call on our presenters on stage. At this point, we will proceed to the open forum. For our stakeholders, kindly prepare your questions. And to ensure orderly exchange of ideas, may I call on Ms. Donna Corpuz, Executive Assistant 3 from the Office of the Undersecretary for Maritime, to moderate the forum.
Thank you so much, Chloe. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to one of the most exciting parts of our program, our open forum. And I will be your moderator and facilitator for this part. So we have here our representatives and presenters, joined by Undersecretary Elmer Francisco Sarmiento, to answer some questions and comments from our stakeholders. So for the information of everyone, we have 2 sets of questions. One set will come from our in-house attendees. We encourage everyone here to raise your questions, comments, and insights regarding the presentations that were shown earlier. We also have a pool of questions that were sent by our stakeholders in advance for later if the time permits. So who would like to begin the questions? Who would like to begin the discussion? Anyone from our stakeholders? We have here si ma'am. Ma'am, kindly approach our microphone and mention your name and your office and the office that you represent.
First of all, congratulations, DOTr, for your anniversary, and good afternoon to all. I'm representing PAM-TCI, Maritime Training Centers, but I am speaking in behalf of our client from PTC. I am handling the cruise division. It has been my long-time dream and the dream of all my clients that Philippines will be an official destination. It's not passing through. At the moment, we're passing through, but we're not yet the official destination island. If you are a destination area, it goes through that our crew will be able to embark and disembark. And it means that more money for the economy and a lot of businesses that can actually come in. My question is, does the government have a budget for a proper terminal for cruise lines? Second, I hope we're not going to be dependent on the cruise line companies because they will never invest. It's supposed to be the government who's investing, just like China, Singapore, Japan, Korea, and the other Asian countries. Because once you have the biggest terminal here, then it brings about also the biggest businesses, not only for the government, but for the Philippines in general. Again, do we have a budget, or is there a plan for us to come up with a terminal for the cruise line companies? Thank you.
So who will answer?
Thank you, Karen, for your question. Let me attempt to respond to that. Firstly, DOTr has no budget for cruise tourism port, but instead we have budgets for social and tourism. These are ports located specifically in remote islands to connect this to the bigger economy islands. But I understand that PPA, in one of the presentations a while ago, that they are developing cruise ports, particularly in Curimao, Salumage, and even in Siargao. But indeed, and there are others also, but indeed you are correct, it's not yet a destination port. We are working, in fact, together with the Department of Tourism. In one of our trips to Taipei, there was this initiative coming from, in fact, our neighboring countries to promote the Philippines as a destination port for cruise tourism. But the market is coming from Taiwan, South Korea, and Japan. But again, you're correct. I think we should also focus also the Philippines as a destination for cruise tourism. And we should, well, this is for the attention of our secretary, maybe consider also cruise tourism ports.
Okay, thank you, Yusek Elmer, for your answer. Thank you so much, ma'am, for question 2. Who would like to go next? Anyone from our stakeholders or maybe from our agency attendees? Going once? Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm Zarmang Likmuat, representing the Philippine Association of Maritime Institutions. And before anything else, again, congratulations to DOTr for their 125th anniversary. Following the spirit of RA 10635, appointing Marina to be the single administration for maritime, our association agrees and submits to the spirit of RA 10635. However, we are also wondering, why is NMP not under the umbrella of Marina? Since NMP is the maritime training center of our country, but yet is under the DBM. Maybe our good secretary here can initiate some moves, because I know and I understand that it has something to do with the law, but maybe the DOTr can lead or initiate the transfer of NMP under Marina. Your thoughts po?
Thank you, sir, for the question. Who will answer?
Again, I will try to answer that. Your question is if ever we have attempted to discussed this with DMW for the school to be transferred? Yes, but again, some intervening incident happened, unfortunately for the former secretary who passed away. But yes, indeed, there was a discussion between our secretary and the former secretary about this. We haven't pushed through yet.
So, sir, are you satisfied with your answer? Okay, thank you so much. Any more question from our agency attendees or stakeholders? We still have time. Don't be shy. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm Egel Nicolas from the PCSA, Philippine Coastwise Shipping Association. Just like to comment on the MIDP 28 High Impact Project of Marina, the core program number 1, modernization and expansion of domestic shipping. These are very noteworthy high impact projects like the Maris project, the Alon project, and so forth. No? One thing also is the amendment of train law to accept excise tax on fuel. As everybody here may know, fuel is the major cost of domestic shipping, well, for any domestic shipping companies. And we also want to emphasize that I think the airlines are exempted from excise tax on fuel, which I believe should apply to domestic shipping as well. May we know some timelines of these projects?
I guess I have to answer the question. Well, definitely it's in the MIDP, but we are conducting the study, and given the number of legislative agenda that we have listed, initially we want to consider all of this at least until the 20th Congress. But those legislative agenda that we have submitted for the 19th Congress is like we haven't seen any much progress at all. So I guess this will be moving ma-delay pa natin ng konti. So siguro we are targeting again this to be passed by the 21st Congress. But we are committed to complete the study by the end of this MIDP 28 and the draft bill. So it would be ready by the 21st Congress. That would be 2028, start of 28.
Thank you for that question. Just to add to the response of our administrator, when Marina presented to the President the MIDP 2328, this is one of the topics that was discussed during the presentation. And in fact, I mentioned to the President that one of the reasons for high cost of shipping or logistics is because the domestic shipping is subjected to excise tax. Actually, for aviation, domestic is also subject to tax. It's only international which is exempted from the payment of excise tax. And yes, it was discussed, and there will be a study on how we can exempt, because not only for aviation, but not only for the shipping, but also for aviation. So,
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Bautista and Administrator Sonia for your answer. So I believe we can accommodate 2 more questions from our in-house attendees. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Retired General Padilla. I'm already part of the private sector, and in the interest of public disclosure, the other day what appeared to be in the newspaper is a manifesto from a lot of maritime learning institutions that kind of contravene a Magna Carta provision. So may I just request the comment of Marina regarding the position of the group of maritime education institutions? This is my first question, and then I'll have a second one.
Thank you, General Padilla. And yes, the Marina has consistently manifested our position on the provisions, in particular of Chapter 18. No? There are several provisions pertaining to maritime education and training, which to Marina is not aligned with the objectives of the draft legislation. And we maintained our manifestation that the legislation should focus on the labor and employment conditions and not to include maritime education and training. But we know that we have submitted our position paper to Congress, and yet the same provisions are contained, as we have heard, on the bicameral version of the draft bill. So after that, we also submitted and sent our letter to the Office of the President, reiterating our position on those provisions and our reservations in sections 84, 85, and 87 of the draft bill, proposed bill on the Magna Carta of Seafarers.
Thank you very much, Administrator.
Thank you, ma'am, for your answer.
There are a lot of very happy sector
Of
members
course, those
of the
are
sector.
our positions. No, the question is whether they are being considered by the legislators and, of course, the Office of the President.
Be that as it may, we heard from the Office of the President that is very supportive of the provisions that are coming from the private sector, and hopefully those are heard. But before I go to my second question, on the part of the private sector, you have our full support. As the new administrator, and I'd like to make this manifestation. The choice of the secretary was very good. And the undersecretary, I understand we are always aligned with what we want to, with what you want to accomplish with Marina, similar to the objectives, the 4 objectives that you outlined and discussed with us earlier when we called on you. And primarily safety, your digitalization, the ease of doing business, and I think one more provision which I can't remember. But
Legislation.
Legislation, that's definitely the most important things, and you have our full support. And you can count on us to push for those. Now, on the second question, I'd like to focus this question on our Coast Guard. So, on behalf of those who are in the security sector, I'd like to pass on our appreciation to the Coast Guard for leading the way and helping our armed forces in many of our operations at West Philippine Sea, particularly those that support our lonely Marines manning the outpost at Ayungin. Public support is very strong. We are for what you're doing, but I'd like to ask, because lately there has not been so much news heard about many of the things that you're doing there together with our Defense Department. How does the PCG see the effectiveness of these present efforts to defend our interests in the WPS, given that coercion continues and we don't think it will abate? How can they be improved? And if you have plans for the future for moving forward and making these security operations better?
Thank you very much, Sir General Padilla, for that question. I wish to respond by first highlighting that West Philippine Sea Operations is under the umbrella of a national task force. So it is National Task Force on West Philippine Sea. And your Coast Guard is a component of it. If I may speak in the vernacular, sir, kung paano po naghahanda ang Coast Guard upang, syempre po dahil na-mention ko, component po ang Coast Guard ng collective effort of the National Task Force, including Department of Foreign Affairs, yung ating National Defense, Armed Forces of the Philippines, Bureau of Fisheries, among others. Kaya ang postura po ng inyong Coast Guard ay paghandaan ng aming mga sarili. Meron po kami mga asset. It timely came dahil matagal po bago gumawa ng barko, but we are now using them. So the challenge is for us to sustain our readiness under the leadership of our department, so that we can continue providing what is expected of our agency in the collective pursuit of our nation under the President's guidance. I hope I was able to answer your question.
Thank you very much,
Yes, sir.
Admiral Punsalan.
Yes, sir.
Just for your information and as a recommendation from a private sector and a retired member of the Defense Department, please do consider that there is a private sector that's very supportive of your efforts, of the task force, and even the Coast Guard. And if you see fit that there should be private sector participation like what we had last December, please do consider. And second, previously when I was still in the active service, we did have a lot of lighthouses already ready for deployments to establish our ownership of specific areas. So I'm not sure if those lighthouses are still available. Let us work aggressively to put in the semblance of ownership for many of these features that are out there by putting in many of our maritime markers that we can possibly do. And the public definitely has the support. The Coast Guard definitely has the support of the public. And finally, I'm not requesting an answer, but as a final remark, may we just express our profound appreciation to the DOTr for the projects and the programs that you have launched in keeping with the CASA that you want to aim for, Mr. Secretary. And as a member of the private sector, buong-buo po ang aming suporta sa lahat ng ginagawa niyo at patuloy po kaming makikipagtulungan. Salamat po.
Thank you so much, sir. This is a very rare opportunity to have our leaders all together, so we want to encourage more questions from the crowd. Yes, sir.
I'm representing Ship Managers Association of the Philippines and the Superintendent Association of the Philippines. And it's really good to be here with the DOTr, the Marina, the Philippine Coast Guard, because my question will be related to especially with the administration and the leadership of the maritime industry. And first of all, I would like to congratulate you on your 125th anniversary with the Department of Transport. My question is, since I am in the ship management business as well as in the superintendency, I have a lot of experience in registering the vessel in the international from one registry to other registry. And it can be done in just only 3 days. The only concern here in the Philippines is we have a lot of agencies that we have to pass by from Marina, Philippine Coast Guard for the pollution, and then for security for the OTSI and the others, MLC for the Department of Labor. So that's 4 already. Can we have, or do we already have a plan of having a single agency similar to the other countries?
Well, we are reviewing the mandates of Marina, so that's one. And we have also our draft bill for the Philippine Ship Registry. That's an enabling law that will provide incentives and more effective system in terms of making our registry attractive. So we could encourage more ship owners and other maybe ship operators to register under the flag. Now, I cannot speak for all the other agencies, no, because we have different mandates. But for the Marina, as I have presented, we have a lot of legislative issuances in terms of our mandates. It has evolved through the years. So we started as a promotion and development agency under PD 474. Then we had our quasi-judicial functions and everything. That's why we are reviewing all these issuances and come up with a comprehensive maritime bill. And hopefully, we could cover all those issues so we can provide better service, mas mabilis po yung ating registration, and maybe other agencies na baka pwedeng masama na dun sa process, no? But this will entail comprehensive and more in-depth dialogue with the respective agencies kasi hindi naman po namin sila, may sarili ding mandates, no, yung mga agencies natin. But what is important is we need to collaborate, and digitalization is one area where we could really improve so we can interface among ourselves and so that the user of our system can just go into one portal and then naka-interface po kahit pa 10 agencies yan, as long as the systems are interface, compatible with each other, and they can access it at the comfort of their homes or offices, then I guess that would address the concern. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody? Yes, sir.
ARTA was tasked by the private sector as per your concern on several agencies that handles registration. And because of the ease of doing business law, ARTA was tasked to simplify. There is this one-stop shop for international registration, which ARTA has initiated and is now forming the technical working group. Marina is part of that, as well as the DOTr. We still have to organize ourselves to respond to that concern.
Thank you, sir. And really, it's a really big help to the Ship Management Association of the Philippines, lalo na mga ship managers, so that the ship management in the Philippines will grow more. Because ship management is a good business for the industry. Lalo na, it's just like in Singapore and Hong Kong. It's one type of a business that is similar or can even be better than the mining industry. I hope mas maraming makarating dito sa atin na mag-Philippine registry because, of course, for one day of registering, delay of registering is approximately around $10,000 or $5,000 a day ang talo sa mga ship owners, lalo na yung international. So I hope ma-resolve natin ito para yung ating Philippine registry will be like Panama, Marshall Island, and other registries, no, na magkaroon pa tayo ng maraming magandang ship operators na dito sa Pilipinas. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. We have next question, sir.
Glenmark Blasquez, representing PAM-TCI. Good afternoon and congratulations and happy 125th anniversary. My question is regarding for the onboard training of maritime students. Is there a possibility that we can use like the Coast Guard ships, like instead, of course, to support and parang mas okay po yata dahil they are civilian ships and at least makapag-serve din sa country. Is there a possibility to use dahil shortage nga po tayong mga commercial vessels? Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, I guess, but we have to be very sure that it complies with the requirements under the SCCW Convention that onboard training should be onboard sea-going ship. So that's one requirement. That's why we also object to training ship because it will not address the SCCW requirements. But I keep on saying there is a mixed understanding of the requirements for SCCW requirements of onboard training, that is 12 months structured onboard training, and on the other hand, the requirement for the baccalaureate degree. To my personal opinion, it's for the baccalaureate degree, it will not really require the seagoing service, but we have to revise the requirements, no? That's why Marina and Ched will be discussing as well the way forward, so we can detach the two requirements, because not all naman will be assessed for issuance of COC, but all students should graduate and take the baccalaureate degree. So that's the difference. Not all naman who will graduate the baccalaureate degree will pursue and be assessed and be issued the COC. So we will try to separate the two and maybe come up with a more realistic requirement for the baccalaureate and then a different one for our COC issuance, because as long as we don't issue a COC to a seafarer na hindi nakatapos nung 12-month structured onboard training onboard sea-going ships, wala naman tayong problema. But of course, problema natin if we have a lot of students and yet they cannot graduate because it's part of the curriculum. So ito po yung aaralin ni Marina at saka Ched. And aligned with this is also our plan to develop a ladderized maritime education and training. So we will provide options and we will limit those who will require the 12-month onboard training on seagoing ships. Because under the STCW convention, you could be assessed. Ang requirement is 12-month onboard seagoing ship or 36 months in any capacity onboard seagoing ships as well. So actually, there are two options. Hindi naman OBT lang for COC. Merong isa, 36 months. So kung nag-onboard ka na, sumakay ka na as able-bodied seafarer or rating, then you can also apply for assessment, for issuance of COC under the STCW convention. Pero dito sa baccalaureate, walang sinabing 36 months.
Yes.
Purely 1 year onboard training. And in fact, ito, pwede ngang yung nire-request nyo na pwede bang yung onboard dito, wag naman sa 500 GT, baka pwede sa lower. I guess that could be done because it's not STCW eh. It's more on the educational requirement. That's why Marina and Ched are reviewing all these requirements para ma-reduce natin yung mga hindi nakakatapos and hindi nakakakuha ng diploma, and we can focus on those seafarers or students interested to be officers. Not all of them naman wants to be officer eh. And maybe not all of them then has the capacity to be officers because it requires talent, intelligence, many requirements to be really a ship officer. So tinitingnan po natin, but of course, it will take a process. Hindi kaagad nating ma-issue.
Thank you, Madam Administrator Sonia. Actually, that's a good news since most of the maritime students talaga hindi nakakakuha ng diploma because of the onboard training. So I think that's a very good solution po. And thank you, ma'am, for reviewing. Thank you.
The Secretary would like to give comment. We have another question.
Another question.
Actually, it is not a question but a reaction. And our association is very thankful that the DOTr and Marina has supported our opposition in the Magna Carta to delete the provisions of education and training from the Magna Carta. Having said that, we are also delighted to hear that the DOTr, through Marina, is also open to curriculum innovation in studying and redesigning the OBT that is included in the bachelor's degree. Sir, ma'am, in behalf of our association, we are supporting you 100% in this curriculum innovation. And if there is anything that we can provide, data or research, we will gladly give it to you because we already have started our research in redesigning the OBT inside of the curriculum and removing it totally as a bachelor's degree. We already have the research and we're presently in the process of data gathering. If you can and we will be delighted to share it with you. Maraming salamat po ulit sa suporta nyo, and I'm really thankful that we are aligned and we are both looking at an innovative future and a more wider horizon for education and training. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, sir, and of course, we'll appreciate your assistance. Thank you.
We have another question or comment from the crowd.
Last na to from me. First of all, okay, I'd like to really congratulate the DOTr because for now we've witnessed yung base of everything is education and training. And I'm glad that there's a plan for PMMA. It has already been recognized and a lot of improvements are there. How I wish PMMA could also be one of the likes of California Maritime Academy or Kingston University or other maritime educational institutions abroad. So congratulations and thank you for taking care of PMMA. This is the first time I've heard of a plan that will really last and make education brighter. Thank you.
Sir Joel, would you like to give a comment or a response?
I think Ms. Karen has just echoed the sentiments of the Filipino voice, where PMMA as a government maritime institution should address the real problem of the country, being the oldest and supposedly the one that should take the lead in providing the sensible maritime education and training. And that's the reason why all the transformations that we have been doing in the academy, as President Bongbong Marcos has also ordered, be given support by all agencies. Because after all, this is the premier maritime institution of the country that should showcase the capability of Filipinos to become global maritime leaders. And hopefully, all of those will materialize. Because as of now, PMMA's main challenge in order to really address the spectrum of our maritime issues is that our charter, we are limited by only 2 programs. If and when the Congress has passed or consolidated that 4 House bills that were filed by 4 different congressmen and representatives, PMMA would be able to address the vast issues of our maritime program and make Philippines as the maritime hub of Asia, similar to our neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We have a very lively discussion going on, so keep the questions coming. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon po. I'm Tina Garcia, President of Alma Maritime Group. I'm very happy to note that Admin Sonia understands the STCW OBT requirement. At least now we can say that we are aligned in saying that 12 months OBT is not an STCW requirement to obtain, 12 months OBT is a requirement of STCW to obtain a COC and not to obtain a BS degree. So at least we
Sorry,
are in
I
the
would like
same
to correct
page.
lang, no? Still required as for, it's still in the curriculum for
Correct.
bachelor's degree, no?
Yes po, yes po. But you mentioned that you are open to discuss this with SHED, and hopefully that will materialize. So for Commodore Abutal po, I have noted that you mentioned earlier that PMMA's charter only allows you to offer 2 maritime courses. But with emerging technologies now and with the upcoming modern vessels, I was just wondering if you are open to offering more courses like for ETOs, BS degree for ETOs, and naval architecture to support the MIDP 2028.
Thank you for that question, ma'am. Yes, PMMA the charter only mentions 2 main bachelor's degree programs. marine transportation and marine engineering. However, we are allowed to offer other maritime-related fields, such as you mentioned. We tried to open maritime law enforcement before. However, we were challenged by DBM that budget cannot be allocated because it's not part of the mandate. On the case of certificated programs, the short courses, we can do that. And our graduate studies, like the one that you have attended, we are still recognized because we were established ahead of CHED. So, medyo nauna kami doon sa kanila. Kaya ngayon, continuous pa rin. But in the case of other programs like naval architecture, actually including maritime cybersecurity, ports, logistics, and other things, we would like to offer that because we have faculty who are graduates of international universities with various disciplines, and we are not able to use all of them. And that's a problem. Our country is not only for seafaring, but I think 60-70% of the energy of our administration and our industry is always talking about curriculum, enhancement, change, etc. But there are other things that the maritime industry requires. We have port operations, logistics, cybersecurity, which we are not ready. But there is no, I think other countries have already indulged in it, and they are perfected almost most of the programs similar to Singapore, where they have the two key programs, and they have the maritime business programs. That's the reason why PMMA has made an MOU with them so that the programs in Singapore Maritime Academy will be able to re-echo to our country. And we have already done that initially. In fact, the program will be offered through PMMA at a reduced cost. And this one will be offered to everyone soon. Because we are not allowed yet. For our curriculum is already can be accessed online by our graduate students as well as our baccalaureate degree students. So we have the facility to do that for the online classes. Thank you.
Can I have one more? Thank you. Again to Admin Sonia. Ma'am, during our review with the pre-delegate for the STCW on IMO, with IMO, I mentioned there during the meeting that because we have dual-fueled vessels coming out now, and we can expect a lot of these types of vessels to be delivered very, very soon. In fact, I was told by an LNG principal that we can expect around 300 LNG vessels to be delivered in 2 years' time. So I'm wondering the efforts of our government, because we know that STCW doesn't have guidelines yet for these types of vessels. So may we know if we have any government efforts to address this shortage? Because if not, we can only supply ratings for these types of vessels and not officers.
Yes, actually, IGF is with our STCW, no? So yan lang yung naiwan sa ating included na in the STCW convention. But the problem is, if you recall, during our regional conference last year, we don't even know which one global solution will be really the future. So there are LNGs, there are hydrogen, ammonia, methanol, electric, offshore wind power, etc. But we haven't decided which one is the one global solution to reduce GHG. And since it's not mandatory yet, I said, I guess with FAME or some groups, that ship owners, they will not allow seafarers to go on board their ship without the proper training because that is safety. And it's difficult to, eto nagagawa tayo ng mga course programs, tapos magiging mandatory, it will be costly kagad, no? Kasi they are all new technologies and yet we don't know which one is really the one solution that we will use. My personal take is let us allow ship owners to train seafarers. Anyway, that's their property, their asset. They wouldn't put that property at risk. So before they will take in new officers or crew, they will surely train them. If it's LNG, they will train them before deploying them on board. So I guess that would be the status quo because we don't know which one is the future. But again, in collaboration, IMO, the UN Global Compact, ICS, ITF, there is a project developing the training framework for seafarers. So it's better that we align first with the framework so we will have a uniform and in accordance with global standards. Kasi ang hirap tayo ang mag-initiate. Admittedly, we don't have that much competence yet on those particular fuels. No? So mahirap na ma-introduce tayo na introduce. We'll build muna our capacity and then wait for the framework and then eventually implement. But meantime, let's rely on ship owners and operators to ensure that before they deploy seafarers on board their ships, whatever fuel they are using, they are properly trained because they wouldn't risk their own assets to safety, safety risk if they will deploy seafarers who are not properly trained. We will go there, but we don't want to be ahead of the technology. That's in our plan, but we have to be, we have to capacitate, we have to see, because there are, siguro sa IMO, very few standards pa rin, no? They are talking about methanol and ammonia, but still we haven't passed any global standards on those fuel. Kasi there is no one fuel that is yung production to quantity. Kanya-kanya others. French vessels are all using LNG. Dutch vessels are more on hydrogen. Norway, Denmark, Finland, Sweden are using offshore energy, electrification, etc. So we don't know which one is, saan ba tayo a-align? So we're studying then. But siguro by the time, we have not the capacity and the standards as well to implement in this transitioning to green shipping. Ayaw lang nating pangunahan because ako personally, I'm not confident yet that we have the capacity to develop those. Of course, we can get experts and we can start developing, but not nagmamadali, you know. We have to take our time and be careful in coming up with requirements such as that. Thank you.
Admin. Last na lang talaga for Yusek Sarmiento. Sir, we have seen Singapore to implement virtual or tabletop vessel clearances. Are we considering here in the Philippines to do the same? Like the CIQ vessel clearances are just tabletop in Singapore?
We don't have that program yet, unfortunately. Are you aware of that? I think. Yeah, I'll give the response to Sonia, who is more knowledgeable about that.
Well, I guess we have to start first with the accession to the FAL Convention. We haven't acceded to the FAL Convention, and that's the facilitation of trade, which includes a compendium of the requirements on all these clearances. And Singapore is implementing the National Maritime Single Window. And in fact, they're offering to provide us with that program. But the problem is we haven't acceded to the FAL Convention. Once we accede to the FAL Convention, we could easily get such National Maritime Single Window, which is being implemented by most of the parties to the FAL Convention. Yan po yun. Kaya bago pa nga lang sila mag-dock, na-clear na sila eh. Yes. Diba? Kararating pa lang nila, clear to be released again. So lahat ng E-certificates, E-clearances, meron ng requirements yan under the National Single Window. But again, we haven't acceded to the FAL convention. So I also would like to, siguro kasi I don't want to put the PPA on the spot, but they are parang magli-lead in terms of our ratification to the FAL convention.
Thank you po.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and to our maritime leaders. As much as we want to continue this very insightful conversation, we're down to our last question. And this is, we're going to get it from the questions that were sent earlier. So this question is for the PPA and CPA. Sir, ma'am, we would like to get your views on the possible establishment of other port authorities, particularly in Zamboanga and in Bacolod. So who would like to answer first po?
Thank you, Donna. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm the port manager of PMO Davao. Our head office representative will be coming. He's on his way. But my opinion on this is, yung Philippine Ports Authority, we are composed of so many ports. No? Not all of these ports are profitable. And we know that to maintain a port, a SEC, takes a lot of investment. So, mahihirapan po. In fact, as of today, there are ports that are subsidized. So, baka mahirapan po ang other ports na maging independent. That is my personal opinion. Hindi ko, I think that subsidy is most of the, especially the passenger ports ng PPA. So, ang nagsasubsidize niyan mostly are the Manila ports. So, yan po ang sagot ko sa question.
Thank you so much
Thank you.
po, PM. Let's hear the comment of GM Kit on the question.
Yeah, thank you. Cebu Port is also a product of from PPA. And based on our experience, medyo successful naman tayo, no? For the past more than 25 years ang CPA. Perhaps other ports like the Zamboanga and the one you mentioned, they're also following our footsteps to create their own authority. But for me, it depends on the legislator, our Congress, if they will grant such power, especially in the area. So for me, what happened to CPA might also happen to other areas or region. It's up to the lawmakers, the congressmen, their LGUs, if they will follow what CPA did.
Thank you so much, sir. Before we move on to the very last question, I promise, last na, we have this very interesting logistics question addressed to our Undersecretary for Maritime. As we all know, he's a logistics guy. Sir, why are the freight cost rates for Davao to Manila and Manila to Davao routes higher compared to the cost in Davao to China and China to Davao routes? Can you please enlighten us, sir, on that?
Yeah, this is a frequent question, especially here in Mindanao. And I think this was also a question posed before during a meeting with the chamber here in Davao. Again, the reasons are as follows. Number one, fuel prices. They are more expensive here. Not just because it is imported, but also of the excise tax and the VAT. Number two, the cost of repairs and maintenance is also higher. Again, spare parts are being imposed duty and tax. And the cost of importation is also higher than, let's say, being bought by the international shipping line. Number three, the ships here, the container ships, are smaller. They are around 200 to 300 TEUs, while those that ply internationally, they range between 700 to 2,000. So it's economy of scale that makes it per unit cost much lower. But frankly, because of destination charges by shipping lines, when I say shipping lines, international shipping lines, the logistics cost is almost even. And in fact, importation, the logistics cost in imports is even higher with the international cost rather than domestic. That's why we are pushing for the passage of House Bill 4933. And this is, if not avoiding, reduce destination charges being imposed by international carriers. Thank you.
Thank you, Yusek Elmer. And for our very, very last question addressed to PPA, since we're here in Davao City, thank you so much for hosting us here. What are the programs of the PPA for the development of Davao ports, ma'am? Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Donna. Davao ports. We have 5 Davao PPA managed ports here in Davao. That's Sasa, Babak, Mati, Malalag, Mako, and Tagpopongan, or 6 rather ports here in Davao. So for Sasa, we have already turned this over to the private port terminal operator. Ang concession period is 20 years. So they are supposed to operate, manage this port, and put in the improvements. So may timeline na po, nakasali na doon sa kontrata ang improvements for Sasa Port. But before the turnover, PPA has also started an extension, upgrading of berths 1 and 2, which is still ongoing and almost to be completed, hopefully within the year. That's around 8,000 square meters of area. So that port is extended towards the sea. It is expected na magsimula sana yon to handle the key cranes for Sasa Port. Now, for Malalag Port, we have an ongoing project. It's an extension of a filling in of around 4,000 square meters, 5,000 square meters. It's a 500 million project for Malalag Port. So we expect that to be completed within the year, hopefully. And then, so for Babak, which is one of the top 5 passenger ports in the Philippines, we have proposed reclamation projects, but of course, all of the projects that we have proposed are subject to the approval of the top management and the board's approval as well. So, ang next is Tagpopongan and Mako. We also have plans for the expansion and rehabilitation, but still for this year, subject to the approval of top management and the board of directors. Yun po ang latest for Davao Ports. Thank you.
Thank you so much, PM Annalie. And thank you very much to our maritime leaders for graciously answering all the questions and comments that we have this afternoon. So I'm giving the floor back to Chloe for the closing part of our program. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Donna, for leading us for this open forum. And I would like again to thank our presenters for being here with us. and to you, our stakeholders, for an insightful discussion. So with that, we hope that as we move forward, we'll be able to address the concerns raised and be able to implement and execute well our plans and programs for this sector. Before we move forward, it is time for the awarding of certificates. May I call on stage once again Undersecretary for Maritime, Assistant Secretary for Maritime, and of course, none other than the Secretary of Transportation. Likewise, may I call back on stage Marina Administrator, Admin Sonia. Next, we have PMMA Superintendent Commodore Abotal. The certificate of PPA, may I call on Davao Port Manager, Ms. Annalie Aguila. Like to call on CPA General Manager, Sir Comendador III. Lastly, to receive the certificate of the PCG, may I call on Vice Admiral Punzalan. Thank you so much once again to our presenters. And now, before we cap off this year's Bagong Pilipinas Town Hall meeting for the maritime sector, we are truly honored to be graced by the presence of no less than the head of our country's transportation sector. With this, everyone, it is my pleasure to invite once again on stage the Secretary of Transportation, Honorable Jaime J. Bautista.
Thank you. Please be seated. Undersecretary Elmer Sarmiento of the Maritime Sector, Assistant Secretary Julio Ciano, Philippine Coast Guard Vice Admiral Rolando Punsalan Jr., Arena Administrator Sonia Malaluan, Cebu Port Authority General Manager Francisco Comendador III, Philippine Merchant Marine Academy Superintendent Commodore Joel Abutal, Philippine Ports Authority Port Manager Annalie Aguila, fellow government workers, stakeholders of the maritime industry, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Thank you for attending and participating in this 5th Town Hall meeting that focuses on the maritime sector as part of the 125th anniversary celebration of the Department of Transportation. We started our town hall meetings last Sunday in Cagayan de Oro and yesterday in General Santos, which covered the other transport sectors such as road, aviation, and rail. I am pleased to be part of the interactions we had this afternoon with different maritime stakeholders stoked by the substantive presentations by our maritime agencies. I'm very delighted with the questions and answers that we just had this afternoon. I want to focus attention on the Maritime Industry Development Plan that was recently presented to President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. I urge our maritime agencies and stakeholders to anchor their initiatives to this plan that should serve as roadmap, or rather as sea map, binding together our individual efforts. For centuries, our oceans have been source of sustenance, livelihood, and cultural significance. However, our country's maritime industry has faced a plethora of challenges, from overfishing and environmental degradation to territorial disputes in the West Philippine Sea. In response to these challenges, I hope we can harness the rich potential of the blue economy, a concept that goes beyond traditional economic growth, sustainability, conservation, and responsible management of our marine resources. By embracing the concept of the blue economy, we contribute to global efforts in combating climate change and preserving biodiversity. Thus, I have tasked the department's attached maritime agencies to consistently follow the principles of the blue economy framework through initiatives aligned with the formulation and dynamics of the ASEAN Blue Economy Framework. At this maritime town hall meeting, I call for everyone's cooperation. Let us align our initiatives into 4 focus areas. First, let us build seamless maritime transport connectivity through the construction and upgrade of social tourism ports, farm-to-market ports, and expansion of a nautical highway system. Second, let us create a strategy-driven and modernized Philippine Coast Guard by adopting the defense system of management. Third, let us work harder to lower the logistic cost and streamline government processes, something I had always advocated. And last, let us provide a world-class maritime education and training for Filipino seafarers. Together with the Maritime Industry Authority, the Philippine Coast Guard, Philippine Ports Authority, Cebu Ports Authority, our maritime sector builds, upgrades, and modernizes seaports nationwide, promoting inter-island connectivity via the nautical highway system and making improvements in line with the national logistics strategy. The maritime sector also aims to ensure the efficient and unhampered movement of goods, especially our basic commodities, and consequently lower logistics costs in compliance with the President's directive to make the Philippines the logistics hub in Southeast Asia. Continuous coordination should be made with other agencies for logistics convergence programs such as Philippine Food Chain Logistics Master Plan, National Logistics Strategy, and Ports Development Master Plan. As we have seen in the presentation of Marina, significant milestones have been achieved. The country's election to the International Maritime Organization, completion of EMSA and IMSA audits, completion of the IMO independent evaluation, and many more. Marina also takes pride at its digitalization and automation of its processes and systems. They also successfully conducted various safety of navigation and protection of marine environment activities. Meanwhile, the Philippine Coast Guard has taken a proactive stance to prevent and mitigate risk and minimize unnecessary loss of lives and properties at sea. The Philippine Coast Guard, in partnership with the National Task Force for the West Philippine Sea, continues to conduct operations and deploy personnel and maritime assets to the West Philippine Sea, particularly around Bajo de Masinloc, the Kalayaan Group of Islands, Ayungin Shoal, and other Philippine maritime operational areas. We saw in the Coast Guard's presentation their highly commendable efforts in fulfilling their mandates: marine safety and security, law enforcement, search and rescue, and maritime environment protection. They are successful because they constantly collaborate with other agencies and organizations. Meanwhile, the Philippine Ports Authority and the Cebu Ports Authority showed us the extent of their initiatives to develop and improve the various seaport under their supervision. And lastly, the Philippine Merchant Marine Academy, or PMMA, presented their academic programs, research projects, collaborations with other educational institutions while doing community extension programs. The PMMA has proudly reported participation in workshops and conferences that benefited the professional development of their faculty members and students. The PMMA envisions to become the country's premier national maritime academy. It is time that we make the Philippine maritime industry a top priority. Looking ahead, our role should include discovering and adopting sustainable practices and ecosystem conservation among coastal communities, fisher folks, and marine stakeholders. Together, let us harmonize all our efforts and make a commitment to provide better opportunities for our fellow Filipinos to build a more progressive, sustainable, and resilient maritime sector. The path forward is clear. Let us work towards a maritime industry that not only meets the immediate needs of our people, but also ensures sustainable and secure future for generations to come. Thank you, good afternoon, and mabuhay ang bagong Pilipinas.
Thank you very much, Secretary Bautista. What a unifying and insightful message that was to close this year's town hall meeting. We hope to work better together, grow bigger together as we embark on this journey together. At this point, may I call on the DOTr comms to guide us for the group photo op session. Everyone, kindly stay seated, or you may... Everyone, kindly join us here in the middle. In the middle. And that concludes this year's Bagong Pilipinas Town Hall meeting for the maritime sector. Thank you everyone for a successful event, and we hope to see you again in our future endeavors. I am Chloe Arias, your host, signing off. Salamat kaayo at maayong hapon sa tanan.